Hello and welcome to the Track Review and Comics Review on the Iron Cannon podcast with the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. I'm Matthew. He's Chris. I got my water. He's got his protein shake. It's 2 weeks away from New York Comic Con. Ready to go. Really excited for that. But we got a great week in comics, I'd say, this week. I can kick that right off right here. Dr. Aphra number 36, written by Alyssa Wong. Art by Minkyu Jung and Jethro Morales. Colors by Rochelle Rosenberg and covered by Derek Chu. Ambushed, a Dark Droids tie-in. Trapped in a warehouse full of deadly battle droids, Dr. Aphra fights for her life. But she's about to come face to face with the one enemy she never expected to see again. This was a fantastic comic. I really enjoyed this one. The really great action. Even just the banter between Aphra and Just Lucky was I actually laughed out loud. You know, I don't laugh as much in a comic, but it's like it was the line where she's all, well, he pieces out, say bye, and she's great. What am I going to do? But of course, they end up having to fight each other because those droids just find them all really, really fantastic. It really felt like watching a show, just the way it cuts between that, those great, quiet, somber, serious moments with Leia Organa, General Leia Organa at the beginning, bringing back in Magna Tolvan, Aphra's one-time paramour. I guess paramour's the right word. I don't know, but one time lover, and just to go figure out what happened to this ship, this silver bullet, and whatnot. Really great calm moments, and then flashing into the action in the warehouse. I call it ambushed at the warehouse, just like Panic at the Disco, etc. Like Panic at the Creaser, whatever it's called, that bar from this is another one, Ambushed. So really enjoyed that. Just the pacing and the writing and the art. Credit again to Minkyu Jung, Jethro Morales for really drawing us in and helping us feel what's going on with this action. It picks up right off from the last issue where I mean she sold the codes, she gave away the codes. She wasn't very smart on that barge, or not the barge, the club there, and on the club, and then she has to run into that character, the same character who stole those codes, and finds it. Great score. Whatnot. So anyway, lots of maybe dive into. It was a fun action heavy one. It's not so much character, but it was fun. It was exciting, drawn in. Some character moments too. But anyway, I'll throw it to you. I think that's all maybe I got to say until you obviously prompt me. Your comments always prompt me into what more to say. So what did you think of Aphra number 36?
Yeah, this issue really moved, Matthew. I will say I was very pleasantly surprised to see Leia, because as we know, the current Star Wars ongoing crop of comics are just focusing solely on Lobot and Lando, so we're not really getting the whole rebellion side of things. So I like what the whole droid crossover Scourge is doing in Dark Droids, is you are mixing in the unusual characters with certain storylines. So we're getting to see like the horror side of things with the Star Wars galaxy, with Dark Droids going on, with Leia like receiving all these distress calls, or it's like, oh wow, we don't actually know what they are. They're obviously not Imperial that they're doing damage. We got to send out our crack team of Star Wars Rebellion commandos there to Magmatov, and a bunch of cool looking characters. I don't know if we've seen them before. Have we seen those characters before?
I think those are new, except for
Yeah. So I like that angle that we're getting somebody else besides Dr. Aphra. Now we're getting Magotolvin, obviously the paramour of Dr. Aphra. And I like how we're getting a little bit deeper into her head, deeper into this character. Remember, she's had a very storied past, with first appearing as an Imperial and defecting to the rebellion during the time of the Battle of Hoth, right shortly before that. So I'm really liking that she's getting those regrets. She's getting those prompts that are causing her to get those flashbacks at times with Chelly Aphra and her, the good old days. And it's like, those two are characters that'll always kind of orbit around one each other. Like they'll go away, then they'll come back, they'll go away. They kind of rebound back and forth to one another, see other people in the meantime. It's like they're always kind of meant to be, sort of thing. So it's neat to get that angle of that character. But yeah, I think that Alyssa Wong did a great job of writing this one, as well as Minkyu Jung was the artist, and the other art. There's two artists actually.
Jethro Morales.
Jethro Morales. I think they did a great job with giving us a nice little snappy combat and a lot of action in this one.
Mhm.
Getting the explanation to see like why the hell these droids just get
Yeah.
re-energized out of nowhere. I like that little tidbit
Mhm.
fact. That's like, okay, they have to get a little bit of an operating system update, so they have to have a little bit of a backup battery for that to happen. And of course, that's when the scourge happens, and so we get that good explanation. But
Mhm.
I also like the part when the one character, I think I wrote her name down. Let's see, her name is TV or
Yeah, the one
TV.
the run into on in the club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she just like this is the thing about Aphra is you can get away with doing moments where she just straight up is cold blooded because
Yeah.
that's in her character. Like she's like skirting the line between just absolutely like no soul because she just leaves this person to death. Just
Yep.
leaves her there, just like screw you, bye bye. And
Yeah.
that was fun though. But yeah, I like how again we say this every week. I think Charles Soule has orchestrated and an as the architect of this whole
Mhm.
crossover, this whole era. I think he has learned his lessons, maybe, or learned from the past of how to do a good crossover. And I think like each story is just getting us a piece of the puzzle. And yeah, you probably could just read issues 1 through 5 of Dark Droids and get the best picture of what's going on,
Mhm.
but it's going to be even more satisfying when you're reading Dr. Aphra and you get to see, okay, how she's thinking about how to solve this problem. Because I do think, Matthew, that
Mhm.
when it comes to the solution, I think she's going to be one that finds that solution because we know she's always dealing with these kind of crazy things like the Ascendant and the other things she had dealt with in the previous arcs and all that sort of thing
Mhm.
with the ancients of Star Wars. She's the archaeologist, after all. So yeah, overall, I did really enjoy this issue. It didn't go super deep. I think it kind of was a little bit shallow on like the big emotional beats,
Mhm.
but it moved us further along in the story.
Yeah, I can definitely see, especially with the Ascendant, with the Spark Eternal, and how she was, Spark Eternal was in her head, and now the Spark Eternal is fused with the Scourge. That ending as well. I mean, well, first of all, that TV moment, I gotta echo that. That was brutal, and I was surprised that they went that brutal. In any comic, but even in this Afro comic, they went there. She trips her, and then the droids just kill her, and we don't see any kind of blood or guts or gore or anything, but yeah, it's there. I mean, playing up the horror element a little more than we're used to, which is great, which is what we want this Dark Droids to do. That ending, where when I don't know if it's the ending, but the moment where we get reminded that the Scourge wants to take over a human host, or like an organic host, not necessarily human, not just satisfied with craving the robots, with the droids, wanting some way into an organic mind and all those memories, and even an organic soul to some extent, and the hunger that it describes it as, saying, well, it'll never be enough, and just where, even just the communication between them, where are you, uh the way it plays off, the ways in which a droid that multiplies itself can communicate and surround and have Aphra surrounded, and you feel that horror kind of thriller tension there, and then of course in the end with Domina, getting back to Domina, and uh saying problem solved, maybe not. Domina, she's telling Domina a bit of a bag of goods, because it was awfully convenient. I will say my first reaction to the temporary power going down, that was a little convenient. Then kind of, episode 1 Anakin, they're broken, kind of convenient, but just as in episode 1 in Phantom Menace, and in this comic, it made sense with the story. It made sense to explain why they were able to power up. Good reference to Canto Bite, of course. Just Lucky having his base on Canto Bite, knowing kind of, in the ins and outs of how droids there work. So yeah, it made sense and it fit together. And one last thing, then talk about with the crossover. Before I turn it back to you. Uh, so we got Leia in this, on the back of, I think the back, or at least kind of the tease for the flagship crossover Dark
Hmm.
Droids. That's where they're going to do the Vader story. And I was surprised by that. I figured get Greg Pak to do that because it's the Vader comic. No, Charles Soule himself is going to write that, and I mean, I'm sure Greg Pak is going to look at, go into what the implications of that are. Obviously, he has to, but yeah, they're definitely, they're not limiting themselves to, oh, this is the Aphra comics, so we can't do Leia. This isn't the Vader comic, so we can't do Vader. It's saying, okay, what makes sense with everything going on. And it, again, with Leia, it really added to the tone, the connectiveness throughout the galaxy. And with Vader, it'll do that too. Again, I keep saying this every week. This is all leading up to the Battle of Endor eventually, and how everything has to tie together in the Battle of Endor. Because we have the silly critique. I think I mentioned this. I forget who I was talking to. I may have been talking to Dom, or maybe talking to on the podcast on Canon One Monday, making the galaxy small, and the prequels made the galaxy small. Well, these films, what happens with these films is that all these disparate elements, they come together in these galaxy defining events. As we see in even in this past week's Disney Plus streaming show episode, talking about how that's where the Empire falls. Even though us paper fans, we know it's also in the Battle of Jakku. Whatever, doesn't matter. It really is the Battle of Endor. And so to see these comics really pull everything together as they should, talking about rationalizing, justifying its existence, extending the beeline to it's sort of the opening scene of Return of the Jedi, the whole events of Return of the Jedi, doing a good job of, giving us a fun story, continuing on. So I definitely echo your recommendation. Yeah, fine if you just want to read the one crossover flagship, but they're doing a really fantastic job tying everything together and having them stand alone as excellent stories as well. Do you have any last thoughts on Aphra number 36?
I don't have any last thoughts on Aphra number 36. However, I have an update with where we're gonna be in April.
Okay.
Because apparently they put out variant covers for up to issue 44 or 45. So we at least know we're going to be stuck in this era until at least probably May at the very least.
They're going beyond. So Return of the Jedi at 41 is what they're going to be doing.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
I figured they'd be all get to it this year because of Return of the Jedi at 40, but I guess not.
I don't think it's
more. Are you sure? Are you sure they're not going to just go through the events of the film?
Maybe they will, because the only reason why I said because they Marvel loves renumbering, right? They love getting out another issue number 1.
Oh yeah,
and they've done that with the Empire era. So I figure that's par for the course. But you could be right. Like, hey, what's to say they don't do an adaptation of Return of the Jedi for 2 issues of the Star Wars mainline series, and then they just say, okay, number issue 46 is now the day after. But then we also have Shattered Empire, so that's another thing where it's that is so directly after. It's do you just skip that and start 3 months in or something?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, Aphra is not there. They have the Fakbov, the novel, or the short story collection, have sort of the comics version of that potentially. What was happening during, just like Lost Stars, just like I want to say even the in Legends, right, the Republic comics, and that was Revenge of the Sith at 0. But from what I understand, they just right into when Revenge of the Sith came out, and they had these comics leading up to that, and then there's just the Star Wars line. Then they just continued on through into the end, past the main Clone Wars line continues on. Kind of with Clone Wars Bad Batch a little bit. I think there's room to maneuver in there, and then cap it off at Jakku. That would be fantastic.
I'd be so sick if we have Jakku
again. I'm gonna go with the historical recollection of people in 9 years later, or I guess it would be 4 or 5 years later, saying yes, the real fall of the Empire happened at Endor, and then the aftermath. It's the aftermath.
But what if they canonized or whatever basically the whole idea that Luke was at Jakku. Remember we got the tales of Luke Skywalker, like there was kids on the
Yeah.
Canto Bite transport and they were talking about, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Luke Skywalker was at the Battle of
Mhm.
Jakku, like
Yeah.
lifting Star Destroyers from the sky." Like, what happens if they actually do that, like Star Kill levels of
Yeah.
power, but you do
Yeah.
get Luke that goes there, and you get to see like a side mission he's on or something.
I mean, they connect that with everything with Gallius Rax and Ray Sloan, and
Yeah,
that'd be interesting. Or maybe not. I mean, not maybe not that little aspect of it, but yeah, I mean, Luke isn't really in Shadow of Empire much, right?
no, just like
He's
that last issue, I
yeah.
think.
So yeah, I think I think there's room to work with there. I mean, I think your initial instinct is right in that maybe they'll just continue on and not worry about the Return of the Jedi at 40, but it's a good question. Great thing to we got Din here in the comments chatting all about different things. I think he's on his phone there. Yeah, any last thoughts any last thoughts on Dr. F number 36?
Like I
Nope.
said, I think it's something that wasn't the best issue, I'll say
Right.
that.
Yeah.
It's very much an issue of going from point A to point B.
Mhm.
So I'm very
Yeah.
curious to see what happens with Aphra and Domina Tag and how messed up that Tolvin gets by these Scourge droids. Because I'm
True.
pretty sure that's C3PO that's in the window, right? In the shadows.
Uh maybe in the
Because
on
Triple
the silver
Zero, I
droid?
mean, it looks like Triple Zero, but we know Triple Zero is actually on another planet.
Yeah, you could take a hyperspace route. Who knows? Yeah, we
Because then
don't that's interesting. They left
C3PO.
it up in the air. Could be another droid entirely. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. It could
But
be.
yeah, fun times. All right, let's before we say yes, ambush at the warehouse. This is now your X-Men name. Just change that right now. Not F-105. Ambush at the warehouse with the exclamation mark. Uh, just don't get copyright. Well, maybe not with the exclamation mark. Just have a nice little reference there. Anyway, Hyperspace Stories number 9, written by Michael Morrissey, art by Nick Brokenshire, cover by colors, sorry, by David Kennedy, cover by Tom Fowler and Bill Crabtree. This is for Star Wars Adventures, Hyperspace Stories, Dark Horse. I think it's not technically Adventures, but anyway, the Dark Horse.
Hyperplay
Yeah,
stories.
there we go. Jedi Knight Quinlan Vos. Just stop right there. Jedi Knight
Yeah,
Quinlan
really.
Vos arrives on the crime-ridden world of Bavana on a mission that could be the key to ending the Clone Wars. But it turns out the defector he's tracking has more than Dooku's secrets. He's also made off with a sizable amount of the Count's fortune. Now Voss finds himself in a lethal race against time with the deadliest bounty hunter in the galaxy, Cad Bane. Huge comic. Stories. I'll let it throw it to you. What did you think of this book?
Oh, this book was a lot of fun, as we all have said. During this entire run of the hyperspace stories, they have given us these really fun adventures that actually sometimes get a little bit mature, get a little bit darker, and I really do appreciate for an all age comic because it
Yeah.
truly is all age. You can absorb stuff as a 33-year-old, just as different experience of an 8-year-old, right? So I really am not like other people on the network here, namely Chris Sequel. I know is a huge fan of Quinlan Vos, and I've not been someone who has read the Republic comics like him. And I know that the character Quinlan Vos is such a big character for the Legends expanded universe crowd of people because apparently he's a badass in those. And I've never really got the experience that I've seen him in the 2 episodes of the Clone Wars, as well as I guess it's 2 episodes maybe more. And then Dark Disciple book, that's the first real crack at him that I got, and
Mm-hmm.
what a great novel that was between him and Asajj Ventress. But yeah, I would say they delivered. Everybody involved with this issue, the creative team really delivered from a writing standpoint. This guy always feels kind of like the Johnny Depp kind of Jack Sparrow, and even looks like him of the Star Wars galaxy. I like how he says like man, like he throws in those like little things where it's like, yeah, this is the hippie Jedi guy or whatever, like the dude that's just like really chill as a
Mm-hmm.
Jedi. And yeah, he's a Jedi master. And yeah, I think from again the dialogue of him, just looking at like his actual character in this, the dialogue seems like it was spot on.
Yeah.
The imagery was spot on. I love his intro when he comes in with the darkness and the green lightsaber. It's like, oh, you don't know what's gonna happen now. Those people are so out of their depth, and they even try to run, right? And then you also have just a great, comeback duel between him and Cad Bane. So the terminology, the dialogue insinuates that this takes place after their duel with Obi-Wan and Quinlan and then Cad Bane, that big duel there. And yeah, Cad Bane is just as legendary as he's always been, right? This guy is a Duros without any kind of force sensitivity, and yet he has no qualms, no problems with fighting against Jedi in one-on-one combat. And he excels in this situation, and it's kind of like more or less like a draw, which is a pretty cool thing. But the imagery, again, the way the panels are, I really like the one panel or the one page where it's just like images of their eyes and then of their hands on the holsters. Like that's just such a Western type of design, and I think it really flowed well. And yet we get a nice connection in this issue of like an innate ability of Quinlan Vos, which is the same as Cal Kestis, which is apparently the same as Ahsoka Tano, which is the idea of
Psychometry.
Yeah, I was trying to buy time because I forgot about it. Thanks for saving me. Psychometry, the idea of like feeling memories through touching an object, and you feel the force of the manipulation of prior Jedi or whatever happened. So it's great because it's like, oh my gosh, he's seeing the Bad Batch had touched the doll. He's seeing Obi-Wan. We had seen the tail of Obi-Wan already touching the doll. So, and we had known from the previous issue, I believe it was like with the First Order and Kylo Ren, who was like, I sensed something, but he had no idea that the doll was there and it was emanating from the doll. So I like that continued, it's a very loose connectivity between these things, but I feel like it's there and it's working so far. But yeah, the character of the guy getting kind of caught in out of his depth, trying to leave Count Dooku and stealing the money, and then Quinlan Vos coming up with the great idea, the clever idea of just like putting the money out there and be like, hey, if I want bounty hunters off my back, I'll just bait them with the money. So yeah, overall, I really dug the issue. And I also say at the end of my video review on my channel, like, why don't they just make an ongoing, or at least a miniseries of Quinlan Vos after Hyperspace Stories 12 comes out?
Yeah, Quinlan Vos, Jedi of the Republic. By the way, you can check out those recaps in the notes below. I was able to sneak it in this morning. Yeah, that Clone Wars double episode, a few episodes. I mean, first of all, that also I think ends in a draw, right? I mean, the Hutt is dead, and neither of them get what they want. But also just that character Quinlan stands out so much in those two episodes that you can hear him and feel him, and that and Michael Morrissey and Nick Brokenshaw are able to show him in such an iconic way that he already is that way. Just like said, the Jack Sparrow, I like that, the Jack Sparrow of the Star Wars galaxy. That standoff moment. But here's the weird thing: it's a standoff with a lightsaber, which we're not used to seeing at all, right? It's always got to be two pistols or whatever. Here he's bringing out the lightsaber hilt, and it still works. They still get it, in part, I think, because we know who's holding that lightsaber. This very kind of, I don't want to say roguish Jedi, Quinlan Vos. Loved also the references to Kenobi that really helped cement this, or help solidify and clarify and bring in our minds and in our experience of reading the comic this contrast that here's Obi-Wan, who does everything so cleanly and by the book, and then here's Quinlan, who just doesn't and just wants to just get into trouble, take action, not get into trouble, but be very brash and action oriented, I should say. Still on a clear mission. He's not saving this guy just to be the good guy. And this was an interesting thing I thought about, is the Jedi and the Republic, they're not the classic superheroes who see a guy in trouble and so they save him for the sake of saving him. That ends up what happened. It is what ends up happening, because the guy turns out to not really have anything of value as far as we know. But the he's on a mission. Quinlan's on a mission to get key intel from this potential Dooku defector, and so that's why he's risking his life and going into this dangerous situation that starts off, like you said, not as dangerous. He can simply say boo, and then they run.
Yeah,
really funny moment. Sorry, but then I will say, if this weren't an all ages comic, I think that reveal moment, the green lightsaber moment, would have been on our next page. because that's the one thing is you can see it kind of in the corner of your eye. And so that, yeah, I think might be might have been a thing for the all ages not to be too scary and too weird, because it's kind of the reverse horror move, right? Where if the guy you're not cheering for, the guy you're scared of, then everything was dark and the light goes on, kind of like with that Mandalorian season 1 episode. It's also a reverse horror. That was playing with that in that it takes the methods and tropes of a horror thriller, but applies them to the protagonist. So again, it was still effective. I didn't mind it. It was just, it would have been nice if it was on, like, if it was like a full page of just the green lightsaber. That would have been fantastic. But yeah, and then like you said, the doll, get someone with psychometry to do that and see what else happens. Have we seen the Bad Batch yet? I know
the next episode
it's
or
the
the
next
next issue.
This psychometry almost go into the future. That seems
Well, no, I think what they imply is this is after those events because it's in the Clone Wars. So I guess you could still have the Bad Batch adventure taking place
that's true. They can,
beforehand.
that's right, because this jumps around. That was a little, I guess that was a bit confusing. All right, this thing jumps around. I mean, we had Kylo Ren like last issue, so
yeah,
fair enough. Yeah, so again, that raised an interesting thing of we're gonna see the Bad Batch before, during the Clone Wars, before
yeah.
the Rise of the Empire, before the series. So again, I mean, another thing they're doing, kind of like what was that called? The one where they're around the campfire with Maz Kanata telling stories, those 2-minute shorts.
Oh,
Tales
Force of Destiny.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Finding little pockets of story to tell. I mean, a lot of different media are doing this.
Yeah, it's great because I think Star Wars always needs to have a comic book series like this.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be tied up all the time with one era.
True.
So like this is the benefit of like being able to jump different eras because some people really like those first order things. I do, and it's kind of fun when you see like, oh, Kylo Ren story, this is great. I haven't seen one in a while, or a Jango Fett story, or a Plo Koon story, or whatever. Maybe they'll start doing High Republic character ones. That'd be nice too.
Why not? You know how I want that. I feel that. Well, which gets to Quinlan Vos is the perfect one, because again, we haven't had much of him at all.
Yes.
And he's, again, like you mentioned, such a iconic character from Legends in the shop there, background extra in Phantom Menace, and then he's all, expanded in canon in Legends, in the story, in the EU, and I got the Clone Wars spot. And then of course the Dark Disciple line, which really, like you said, really dives deep into he's not just this brash, happy-go-lucky character. He's someone with a history with Count Dooku. He's someone with a history with having given himself over to that side. That hasn't happened yet in this timeline, I don't think, but in the timeline, but definitely, I mean, clearly a character that's somewhat tied into Dooku, in part probably because he's a roguish Jedi, and Dooku, of course, is in the has a bust in this room here below us. So, no, definitely very different characters, different types of Jedi, different types of masters. And so, and I'm not saying, and in a way, it's to say Quinlan is a more of a servant of the light. I mean, obviously, is more than Dooku ever would be, but despite being so roguish and brash, or maybe because he's able to be roguish and brash like that, he can kind of like the Rail Averos type of mold, although Rail is more compromised. But Quinlan, show us more Quinlan. Let's explore kind of, not, I hesitate to use this word. I don't mean what you think when I'm using this word. Let's explore the gray of what it means to be a light side Jedi. You know what I'm getting at? Like the different ways of doing that. And I mean, Dark Disciple does that. It says what the dangers of trying to be a gray Jedi is. You fall to the dark side. It's what happens. But ultimately, yeah, he comes back. So, yeah, great character. We need more Quinlan. Very good. Do you have
Yeah,
any
it's
more to say?
just it's one of those things where he is a character that we don't know the fate of, and we know the fate of most
True.
characters at this point. There was a lot of Jedi floating around in that era
Mhm.
of the Dark Times, and he's still out there
Yeah.
somewhere, according to Obi-Wan. He had recently helped
Mhm.
out with the Path, and he's out there on his own. I was really pining for him to be in some version of Jedi Survivor. That
Mhm.
never happened, but there's always a third game on the horizon. Maybe he'll pop up in there, show Cal a couple lessons to go to that secret planet or whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it's great. This is our Qui-Gon Jinn of this era.
True.
Very much
In
a
a way,
maverick.
very. I mean, very also very different from Qui Gon in his own way. I mean,
Yeah.
similarities, but also Qui Gon still. I don't know. Maybe because I'm sensitive to Qui Gon, but he's still more morally upright. I mean,
Yeah,
certainly willing
Qui-Gon is
to.
just a little bit more proper, whereas this
Yeah.
guy,
Good way to put it.
he skirts the edge. Like he is the type of person that feels at home
Mhm.
with the criminals, and I think that's why I like this issue so much because like they got his characterization correct. Like, yes, the Jedi would send somebody like Quinlan Vos to like
Mhm.
the underbelly of society to like infiltrate and exfiltrate some target out of there because he
Yeah.
deals with those people all the time. That's why we first see him in Star Wars. Yes, like you said, he's on Tatooine in Maz Espa and just a shady part of town.
Mhm.
Um,
True.
he feels at home in those places, so they did that well.
Yeah, they've got to be pitching and ideating, thinking, okay, where do we bring Quinlan in? How do we bring Quinlan in? Um, if we bring, they've got it, it's got to be on the table. Uh, because he's gotten these mentions, and this is the latest mention. Yeah, like you said, then in Kenobi, in that list in the Vader 2017, the
Yeah,
list that the librarian, whatever her name is, she works here. That
Jocasta knew.
yeah, Jocasta Nu has. I guess Vader gets a hold of that list too, but uh, yeah, he's in that and very clearly and very brazenly,
Mhm.
or very very front and center. So yeah, character. Maybe is there enough popular groundswell for him? I mean, I think there should be, but maybe that's another question. I don't know. If you have any final thoughts on that or whatever or whatnot.
Uh, not really any more thoughts in particular. I will
Mhm.
just say that, it's great that we're doing this podcast
Yes,
because there's not a lot of Star Wars comics podcasts out there, to be
true.
honest. I know there's the Splash Page Comics ones. I listen to them
Hmm.
weekly. Um, so yeah, I just want to kind of just say, hey, this is great that we're doing this thing. It's been going
Right.
for over a month now. We're
Oh
going
yeah, sure.
strong here.
Yep.
We want to make sure that we have as many people tuning in. So
Hmm.
please give us feedback.
Yes.
Let us know if you're enjoying the show. We could always, change things around if you guys want to see different things, talk about certain topics.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm just proud to be a part of this team here. We're
Yeah.
just working together as, just talking about the stuff we read on a weekly basis, and it's nice to get a little bit more niche. Like Star Wars is not really niche, but then you're getting into a specific sub part of Star Wars. And I know comics are probably like the least
Hmm.
consumed media in Star Wars, but there's an audience out there, and we want to make sure that you guys are enjoying the content, and we want to make sure that you're also spreading the love of the Star Wars comics.
Hmm.
And guess what? Not everybody has the luxury of being able to pay in
True.
US dollars like 4.99 for every issue. It's expensive, guys. It really
Yep.
adds up. So, even if we could just, make you aware of the current stories that
Hmm.
still matter, that still count in the overall scope of the Star Wars story,
Hmm.
at least hopefully we're serving you guys out there by just allowing you to, enjoy and be informed about what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really well put. This has been great. It's been yeah, definitely a privilege and a fun little Thursday lunchtime. Thing to look forward to. Yeah, chatting comics. 'Cause again, I stopped because it was me on my own talking in the internet, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work well. So yeah, definitely got to keep this going. Got some great momentum, and as I said, the tractor beam will assemble in 2 weeks' time
Yes.
in New York City. for New York Comic
We
Con. Yeah,
do
looking forward to that.
we do have an update for
Yeah.
the Star Wars people out there. If you
Mm,
live anywhere near New York, I
yeah.
strongly recommend you go to the convention. As of recording, as of live, there
Mhm.
are tickets available Thursday and Sunday, and namely Sunday, you're gonna wanna go because there's gonna be the Star Wars Lucasfilm Publishing panel,
Yes.
I believe at 1:30 PM. That is where they're
Ye-
gonna
Yeah.
talk. I mean, Charles Soule is confirmed to be there, so we know obviously he's gonna be talking. Well, I guess he doesn't have to talk about the comics, but they're gonna talk about the
Come
comics.
on.
I mean, he could be talking about his book in
Yeah.
the Higher Punk for all I know, I guess, but
Comics
yeah,
by Charles
yeah,
Soule.
but
Yeah.
so it's fun because when you go to the conventions, like last time,
Hmm.
I had people that just found me out of the blue that were like, "Hey, are you Star Raptor?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, we heard your voice and recognized you from the back of your head." It's like this funny
That's good.
thing where it's just like, "How the hell do you know who I am?" It happens more than you think, but
Yeah.
it's a fun moment. So, we want to do the call to arms here, and
Hmm.
we'll say again next week before we head out. But
Yeah.
if you plan on going to New York Comic Con, let us know.
Yeah.
Send me or Matthew a message on our handles, and we'll be
Mhm.
happy to link up before or after the big panels. There's
For
also a
sure.
panel on Thursday, which is the from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi. I don't know the time of that one off the top of my head. I want to
Yeah.
say it's like 3 p.m. or something like that. So they got
Yeah. I
that
don't know.
one. Friday, I don't think there's unfortunately. Wait, no, Friday there is a Star Wars actor that's doing a panel. I believe it's David Tennant. So
Right. Yeah, that's right. I
if
mean,
you
there's
want to
another
hear
Star Wars actor doing a panel named Ewan McGregor.
Oh,
Uh,
that's also on Thursday. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So if you're a Star Wars fan going to these things, then there's a good chance you'll find us because we'll be
Yes.
also going to those panels. Also,
Hmm.
Saturday, there's a Star Wars costume cosplay meetup, which is
Hmm.
always a blast.
Oh, yeah. A lot of
Um,
folks from Toronto coming to that one, actually. I think so.
really?
Yeah, a good chunk. There's a good crew coming down. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
So
so we're really hyped. We're gonna be having a lot of fun producing content like
yeah.
on the floor, like guerrilla style, just like doing it on the fly. Yeah, I
Well,
got
if
my
you
mic, I got my other things I'm gonna
like it's
have in my
celebration. I mean, that's what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
it
like
was
that.
our first
It's
big team up
exactly
was
like
the
that.
the big panels at celebration.
Yeah,
So
there
just like
is
that.
the largest amount of any comic artists or writers in the world that assemble here.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for a little bit of history, New York City is like the home of Marvel, right? That's like the headquarters is there,
Hmm.
and I'm not sure if DC is headquartered there. Unfortunately, I don't know why DC doesn't have a president this year, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
That this artist alley I think I rambled
Hmm.
off, Matthew, the one night I
Yeah.
was counted that there's over 20 Star Wars creators in Artist Alley
Can be amazing.
that we're gonna try to go around,
Yeah.
maybe shake some hands and talk to some folks that we've been enjoying our content for a
Yeah.
while. Maybe we'll get some voice recordings here and there
Yeah.
if we're able
We'll see.
to. But there's definitely a lot to keep me and you busy over
Yeah,
there.
definitely some autographs, that's for sure. Also,
Yeah.
I mean, Del Rey, the company, I mean, they're in New York, I'm pretty sure, and so Random
Yep,
House
they are.
World.
Yep.
Also speaking of paper cannon, so I mean, that's why I mean, it's always it's considered the paper cannon con,
I really
more
hope.
than San Diego, more than Celebration to
Yeah.
some extent. So
I think that if they are really looking ahead at this and they
mhm.
had a High Republic panel last year,
Yeah,
doesn't look like they'll have one this year, but darn it, make this like the launch of phase 3.
yeah,
Give
it,
us the Eye
it's
of
when
the
it's
Storm,
happening.
whatever the
When it's
heck
happening.
it is.
Yeah.
What is
So
that book that George Mann wrote? It's Eye of is it the Eye of No, Eye of Storm is a comic book.
yeah, I have
Eye of Darkness, is it?
oh, the audio play.
No, no, no. There's the upcoming novel. It's come out in
Oh,
November.
yeah, something like that.
Um,
I have Darkness, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so like, hey, let's have the phase 3 launch celebration at
you'd
New
think
York
they
Comic Con
would. I mean,
2023.
there's the publishing panel with Charles and
Y-
Claudia is in
Yeah.
that too, and John Jackson Miller. So
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to hear more
it'll be
about
good.
the Living Force
Looking
book
for it. That'll
that
be
got
great. So
announced. And
yeah,
so yeah, I know it's been a long aside, but it's
yeah,
basically as much as I want to say is if you're at New York Comic Con,
hmm,
you can easily contact one of us and we'll be happy
for
to
sure.
hang out, grab some lunch or just say a few things and
Hmm.
move on our way or hang out. Doesn't matter. We're gonna
Yeah,
have a lot of time. I'm gonna be there all me and you are gonna be there all 4 days at
I
least.
mean,
So
I'm there longer. I'm flying out Sunday the 8th. So
oh
yeah,
wow.
there
Yeah,
we go.
next
So
Saturday. Okay.
gonna Yeah, Sunday the 8th, and all. Like I got Thanksgiving on Monday, so I don't have to burn a
Oh,
vacation day. So that's
nice.
nice. So, if you wanna help have Thanksgiving with me in Central Park, anyone who's around. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be fine. I'll FaceTime my family. On that note, yeah, where can you? Well, I'll say, yeah, on the plugs. You can follow us, the podcast at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANNONPOD, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Check out the Star Wars Underworld Discord I believe in the links below. I'm pretty sure. We're both in there as well. And yeah, listen, send me a DM. Let me know what you're up to, where you're at, and yeah, Chris, where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, mainly I'll be talking about my adventures of through the Starfield on Twitter.
Nice.
Just look me up at Star Raptor, exactly as it's spelled here. I'm also posting content on YouTube. We have my Outer Rim Transmission podcast where we're chatting about the latest in the galaxy far, far away over there. And my comic book reviews that go up as well every Thursday morning, right before we go live. You can check out a more abbreviated version of what I thought on youtube.com/starraptor.
Yeah. And again, when I have time, I can sneak it into the notes. You can check this week's recap, today's recap, right below there. Yeah, this Monday at the Iron Cannon podcast, we are continuing talking about comics. We're going back, continuing our look back, great moments in paper canon, talking about Kieran Gillen's ongoing 2015 run. So when he had taken over the 2015 run, Hope Dies, issues number 50 to 55. Which is a beeline to Empire Strikes Back. So excited for that, Joel and I, and then we got a good guest lined up for that. So join us right on this channel, right here on the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network, and all the places you get your podcasts, use your video podcasts. I know I'm behind in uploading to Spotify. I'm sorry. I'll get to that soon enough. But yeah, join us 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific for that on Monday night, and then we're again in the Discord and on socials and whatnot. And so yeah, say hi if you're in New York. Say hi. We don't bite. We're friendly guys. I'm Canadian, so I have to be. It's my job. I'm just kidding. Chris is a friendly guy too. I know. So yeah, until then though, happy reading.